Hi, marketers. This is Dots, and welcome to the Marketing Leadership Podcast. With me here is Erik Huberman, founder and CEO at Orc Media. Erik has been recognized in Forbes as magazine's 30 under 30, which is incredible, CSQ's 40 under 40, and Inc. magazine's top 25 marketing influencers. We will discuss the go-to-market wings that make e-commerce fly. If you are watching this episode, you could probably see the wings there already. And as a Nigerian, we are also fans of the Super Eagles. So it all works out. Welcome, Eric. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. For those who don't know you, and I guess there are some people out there. You want to tell us a bit about yourself, your background, how things have been in the past 10 years, and if I may add, why the orc?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, background, I could go very far back, but I would say built and sold two e-commerce companies and about actually now just over a decade ago, started advising and
Wow.
consulting for a bunch of brands. Found that the marketing ecosystem was really broken in the sense of using marketing to actually grow a business profitably and not just throwing money away or creating pretty pictures, but actually using marketing to drive growth. And so wanted to build a company that did that and was the best at what we do, but really easy to work with. And that was the mission and, has become more marketing world domination. But at this point, we're just turned a decade. We've got, over 200 people. We've grown over 4,700 brands at this point successfully.
Wow.
We've had about almost $3 billion in gross revenue over the past decade and it's been a fun ride. And the Hawk, I was originally going to call it Growth Hacker Group and was advised that no one would ever sign a contract that said hacker on it. So I decided to keep it simple. And when I was 7, a Native American chief told me that my spirit animal was the red-tailed hawk. And it stuck with me.
Oh,
I would name it
wow.
Hawk. And then being blunt, with hawk without the E was taken. So I threw an E on it and went, that looks good. And I did not think I was setting out to build what I built. But it was originally just like a little side project. They're like, yeah, that's fine. Hawk Media sounds good. And here we are.
Interesting. Maybe if I ask my people back home what my spirit animal is, they probably say parrot, because this melancholy guy that talks too much. So, well, yeah, that's a really interesting one. Yeah, and it is nice to see how you built your brand, and some of them we'll be exploring as we look at the topic here. Go to market strategies for e-commerce brands, or maybe direct to consumer in general, however I want to spin it. But anyway, um, Gen Z. I often start strategy. I do that. I do strategy on the weekly, and I often start that from a audience perspective. And of course, Gen Z is changing. I have a 23-year-old who's got a slightly 20-year-old, not son, daughter, still young, to 23-year-old sister who's got a different mindset, from myself, and it's a reflection of Gen Z's worldwide, if I would say. Now, when it comes to finding the product market fit for those people, um, why do you think that? I believe, and feel free to disagree with me, that demand generation initiatives engage them the most, unlike "Hi Eric, buy now," um, which was what our generation was used to. So, what are some of the trends that you're seeing there? Do you even agree with what I'm saying with regards to that? And why should people take Gen Z very important, given your experience?
I think it's really dangerous is an exaggeration, but it's probably misleading to and generalize a generation. I think that when people are always looking for shortcuts. One of my favorite versions of this is I just got done reading a book on finance, and
Yeah.
the accuracy of which our top economists have predicted the future of the economy the past 50 years has been the worst you'd ever seen. They would have all failed out of school if they were being graded on this. Like there is
Oh,
predicting the future, but people still look to them and ask them questions and still try to predict the economy. Same thing is happening with these generational things is people want to generalize because it's easier for them. Truth
mhm.
is generalization. What I do believe is society has changed a lot, not generalization. Just like millennials supposedly didn't use email marketing or didn't use their email addresses when I was in high school. Well, yeah, because no high schooler has an email address or uses it. I'm saying broadly, but once you get
Mhm.
to the working world, you got to answer your emails. So the same thing happened. I watched the same thing happen when Gen Z was still younger, and everyone's like, "Well, Gen Z doesn't use email." It's like, well, now that they're working, they all use email. So stop. Uh, a lot of generational things. So I think we a lot of times conflate societal changes with generational changes.
Mm,
Society is changing. So you mentioned the buy now, buy this right now thing. We
mhm.
have so much more information we're inundated with, so much more advertising, so much more products that, yeah, the whole like just buy this now, like, no, we have 50 things telling us to buy it. Now we can't buy it all. So we're not going to do that. We're going to take a little more time. So the sales
Yeah,
cycle of individuals has gone up. What
yeah.
has really affected, I think, and this is where I do believe Gen Z more than anyone, is because of this constant noise, this constant media influx. I think that Gen Z seeks to be more individualized. I don't think they want to be painted with a broad brush like the rest of us kind of were okay with. Like you fit
Mhm.
a category, this demographic, you're this. Gen Z
Yeah,
wants to be unique in some ways, which is where like Crocs crushed it with whatever the charms or whatever that they have on it and different things. And thankfully we were able to do a campaign with them. But
yeah,
like that is where I see like targeting Gen Z, it's allowing for that individualism goes a long way. But again, that's still a broad brush because that's only a
yeah,
small portion of Gen Z that really has changed that way. There's a
yeah,
huge portion that are just as much because a lot of times we're a product of where we're raised, who raises us, what we're surrounded by, what we see.
yeah.
And again, the one shift that is massive is social media. Whereas like social media was introduced, I'm 37 and Facebook came out when I was a freshman in college.
Mm,
And I didn't grow up on social media. We had MySpace. I didn't have Friendster, but MySpace was fun, but it wasn't like not like it is now. Like our lives didn't revolve around MySpace, just like this funny thing we had that we'd play with. And
mhm.
the people that were really into MySpace and editing their pages and going crazy with it were actually a little nerdy and weird. So you fast forward and everybody just their whole life is on these things. It's very
Yeah,
different. What I've seen, how I've seen that change behavior in Gen Z more than anyone, because it's what they were brought up with, is I think it's actually more of an issue of aspirations and expectation, where
yeah,
I see my one friend goes on a trip to Europe, another one builds and sells a company, and another one gets married. Let's just say it's two, three examples. And I'm
mm,
sitting and why can't I go to Europe, sell a company, and get married? I just picked the three highlights of three people's lives and said, why can't I have that all and right now? And that is
yeah,
a natural reaction. I'm talking about myself personally. That is everybody is having that. The difference is I was brought up at a time that view didn't exist, so it's not natural to me. Whereas
mhm.
like grew up from being a young kid to now of seeing everyone's highlight reel, you see it now. A lot of frustration, a lot of expectations that are just so out of whack that you listen to Scott Galloway speak about this a lot. Gen Z is giving up on buying houses because they see what other people have and they're like, just I can't afford a house, so I'm just going to spend money on travel.
Yeah,
I'm going to try to save money.
yeah,
Why I say this is like when it comes to being a marketer, you have to understand this. You have to understand where they're coming from. They're like the big purchases, the idea of saving for something in the long term and spending 10 years trying to build up to actually afford something. Gen Z is not about it. Even though that's what
yeah,
every generation did. There's a stat
yeah,
that last night, the average household income in 1950 was $29,000 a year. And we consider that a booming economy where everybody had a car, everybody had a house, everybody was living great. The average income now is $72,000 a year.
mhm.
And inflation adjusted, to be clear.
Yeah, yep, yeah,
So why? So we should be living way better than we have been because again, inflation adjusted. The
yeah,
difference is back in 1950, everybody made similar amounts of money. So there was nobody on your Instagram flying private. So you weren't going, well, why can't I fly private? This is bullshit. You were
yeah,
just, my friend has a car and a house. I have a car and a house. I guess we're both good. Moving on. Now it's like, well, my friend drives a Ferrari and I only have a Camry. Like, this is bullshit. And again, it is this jealousy is maybe not the right word, but it is almost a jealousy that drives people's expectations. So again, going back to Gen Z, that's why
yeah,
influencer marketing is so powerful because you're
mhm.
going, you should be spending your money on this. They're all spending their money on this and these kind of things. And Gen Z falls into that like everyone else.
Yeah, it's interesting what you mentioned in terms of the individualistic nature of people and how that is happening for Gen Z. Of course, for another topic or another episode, some studies, I follow a channel called Code Fusion, and it's talked about how this is even increasing loneliness. But that's another topic for another day. Bob, you're right. From a marketing perspective, I'm almost like we millennials, the tactic of referral works a lot.
Yep.
Where did you fix your teeth? I'd like to fix it so that I'm good. Where did you do this? I'd like to do this
Yep.
so that I'm good.
Word of mouth.
I
Still,
right? Word of mouth, exactly. do you think word of mouth is going to continue in Gen Z, or is just about that individualism and it
That's,
depends kind of market targeting?
and that's what's really important to understand. It's a new concept I discovered, but like we live by it, but I've now like realized like this is actually more. We talked back about, predicting the future, and like the end of the
Mm,
day, it's easier to predict what's consistent. Human nature isn't changing because of the new generation. Humans
mm,
have been brought up to be social creatures that look for others to validate trust. You eat the berry. If you don't die, I'll eat the berry. And so that's why word of mouth is so powerful is you get awareness because this goes to our book, but there's three
mm,
pillars of marketing: awareness, nurturing, and trust. Awareness, how do you introduce yourself to new potential customers? Nurturing,
mm,
how do you then take that awareness and turn it into a customer as opposed to just someone that knows you exist? And
mm,
then trust, how do you build third-party validation and over time brands so that people trust they're going to get what they're trying to buy? And
mm.
with word of mouth, you get trust and awareness immediately. Like you're
Yeah,
you're getting someone to tell someone else about you, and you also are that person's getting trust. It's like, well, if you like it, I like it. And by the way, what's fascinating about the trust side of this, you don't
mm,
even have to know me. Like you and I just met today. We emailed
yeah,
back and forth, but we're first time on screen today. But if I
absolutely.
came on and said, listen, you have to buy Spindrift. It is the best sparkling water. Next time you're going out and buying sparkling water, buy Spindrift. You run to Spindrift, you're probably going to buy it. If you want sparkling water, you're like, yeah, sure. I don't know that guy that well. He could be crazy, but it's a well, but like, I'll check it out. And
Yeah,
so that's what word of mouth is always going to be the biggest driver. Now, who knows what the hell, but for a long time,
yeah, yeah.
sure, I think word of mouth is still going to be the biggest driver. And it's going more that way, not less, because of all the noise.
Mm. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you mentioned social media and why that should be conducted properly, and so on and so forth. So that makes a lot of sense. And also, you mentioned about your book. So what I do with the podcast, it's almost like I was going to get an MBA, by the way, Eric, and
Uh-huh.
then my boss says get a podcast. And so what I've decided to do is that I interview guests like yourself who had read some research from someone, and I don't have to read that research. I'm hearing that from you, and then on top of that, if you're written a book, I get to read that. I've got a bunch of them here, probably some familiar names.
Yep.
Um, but even better, you've got an audiobook, which I found that you've got. So I'm reading your book right now, and I often just share takeaways from social media and things like that. But of course, before I give my own take on social media, do you want to tell us about those three principles you just mentioned, especially from a go-to-market perspective, how they affect go-to-market?
I mean, I don't want to be redundant, but it's basically that
Yeah.
simple. So when you're creating awareness, it's thinking about different strategies to get the word out about you existing. It's advertising, it's PR, it's word of mouth, it's, anything you can do to make sure that new people are learning about your business all the time because you're going to lose customers. Whether they
Mm,
move, they change prior. Let's assume you don't piss anyone off, which good luck, never pissing anyone off. But you move, they change priorities, they die. People leave. Like you have
yeah.
to always be filling in the funnel, and so that's awareness. And then nurturing, like the most important thing to understand is your purchase cycle, sales cycle. Most B2B or services businesses understand this, but a lot of consumer brands don't understand that from the first time I see an ad to the time I actually buy, it's a long
Mm,
period of time. And you mentioned going into D2C or e-commerce,
mm,
like on commerce, an average $50 order averages about 3 weeks to purchase. $100 about 5 weeks, $200 about 6 weeks. You're talking between 3 weeks and 3 months on average for, your average order, which
mm.
average purchase cycle, which means if you're just doing some quick awareness and introducing to your brand and not doing anything else, you're going to lose a lot of those customers because they're going to forget. It's
Yeah.
that simple. So email marketing, SMS, content, all sorts of things that help like bring them along is really important. And then, as I mentioned, trust. There was a study a long time ago on, would you buy a product from a company you don't inherently trust? And 75% of people said no. And
Mm,
so the idea is like, I have to have some sort of trust. And before you have an established brand where I know who you are, that comes from third party validation, which we talked about. It's word of mouth, it's testimonials, reviews, influencers, PR, endorsement deals, all those kind of things that
mm,
help be like, okay, well, I trust that. So now I can trust you. And
yeah.
back to my point, I don't even necessarily need to trust that. This is my favorite thing to quote, but there was a show called How I Met Your Mother
Okay.
that was on for a long time. And there's the main character, it's about Ted, the main character, and him telling his kid in the future about how he met their mother. So, like, each episode's about his kind of sort of dating escapades and his best friend group and all that. One of his best friends is this total womanizer that's picking up girls all the time. And the
Mhm.
guy goes out to bars with him. And his way of helping Ted get girls, he goes up to random girls and goes, "Hey, have you met Ted?" And they're always like, "No, hi, Ted." Like, well, this guy went through it. I talked about that. I think it's even in the book. I talk about that method of like, I don't need to know the trusted source introducing me. Somewhere biologically, that still creates trust for us. And
Yeah.
then we had to sit at lunch about 6 months ago with the showrunner from How I Met Your Mother, just randomly. I was at a lunch, sit down. So what do you do? Oh, I ran this show called How I Met Your Mother. I'm like, okay, hold on. So I told her that I've been talking about this. And she's like, yeah, we used to go out after filming all the time and try it out. It works every time. It's the best pickup line of all time. And so fine in dating, but that can be used in business too. In the sense of like, it doesn't have to come from me. Use the How I Met, be introduced. And that's so much further, which I mean, for Hawk Media, as an example, our best
Mhm.
driver of business is referrals. Because if someone else
Mm.
is referring us, it's great. So trust is a huge factor.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack there. Yeah. You wanted to share some additional thoughts?
No, I was saying that really covers it. I mean, it's a book. I can go for hours on what general principles.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you're completely right. You're completely right about all those, I guess, the nuances of brand and how brand, of course, always influences performance. I think the biggest thing from your feedback here is the fact that even D2C sales cycles are special at B2B. I don't know if you follow the B2B gang very well. It's like this mini cult
Yeah.
online on social media of thought leaders. It's us, it's B2B. We come up with all the terms that you don't know. But on the D2C end, for sure, I can relate to this because I hate shopping. My wife knows this. I what I do is that instead of having to consider like 20 things, I just consider five. I pick one, and so that I don't have to buy it again, I buy in bulk. And my wife comes into the store and like, Dots, what is this? You've got a real example. I'm not making this up. You've got a bulk of floss in the
Yep.
cupboard. What's going on with you? So
You have a Costco in your own house. It's perfect.
so, but not many people are like me. That's the truth. I think the majority of buyers are really considering different things, including social implications on why they should buy
Yep.
certain things, and you just
Well, you just alluded to something really important in marketing. Stop using yourself as a case study because everybody's like, well, I can see that. It's like, you're not your only customer. Like, you have to be data driven, like, get insights. By nature, you're probably not going to be your own customer in a lot of ways. Like, don't get me wrong. No, understanding your
Mhm.
customer, maybe being a customer is good. But like I built Hawk Media because I wished it existed. And that's where a lot of the success came from. But
Wow.
that doesn't mean that as time goes on, at 10 years later, the needs have changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's as a strategy, it's one of those truths that you need to accept. And it wasn't much of an issue for me, to be honest. Even though it sometimes some data shows which is against what you believe. So there's a bit of the
But I
egoistic.
don't mean to, like, my favorite line on the data side is, in terms of like insights is if you ask people it's the Henry Ford. If you ask people what they wanted, they would have said faster horse.
After
Yeah. Like and it's so simple, but so true. Like I've seen that 100 times. Don't let your customers dictate where your product's going, but see what their needs are.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that there's so many nuances, I think, which is why marketers need to keep a level head for their own sake and for the sake of the customers. And that brings me to my next question, which is dealing with commercial teams. You have a lot of expertise working across sales, marketing, service, IT transformation, finance, almost the whole company, I would say, just to make marketing initiatives work, really. And in this podcast, I've been preaching that for as many episodes I can remember, which is having this mindset as a marketer to say it's not just you and your lane and your 5 billion impressions, but it's really you working with the different people, looking at the decision making funnels. Again, you know the data, so you have the experience on that, and taking the pain to work through this commercial mega team, as it were, in delivering successes. Guys, if you're listening or watching, you need to go to Up Media's website to we'll try to call to that at the end of the episode. It's got a very amazing video ad about a lady talking to these are kids marketers talking to our colleagues on how to grow the business. And this is how I see the commercial systems, whether it's D2C or B2B.
Yep.
How do you guys help companies with that? Like I maybe I had in my notes here creating a commercial system, but creation might just be wrong. It could be optimization. It could be how do you work within that team? Yeah,
It's all the
how does
above.
that work?
We always start with where's the low hanging fruit. Like that's really how the Hawk method was created. The sort of three pillars and everything was more of it came from a necessity to audit their marketing and go, what's missing? What are they screwing up on? And sometimes that's going to be creative. Like if we see everything else is running right and it's really just something's not clicking, It could be creative and messaging and branding and all those things, but it's really just more exploring, depending on the stage of the business, if they're just starting, where they're at, what are the best practices, where are they falling short, where are they missing benchmarks from a, more overall industry standpoint, that we can actually jump in and help and go, these are the things you need to fix to get the most upside for your business, and start there and then keep going. So, I would never say we're creative first. Creative is an aspect of what we do, but it's really when it's needed. So a lot of times they know their brand, they know their positioning. They like the best way to come up with great positioning and branding for your company, go out and talk about it and see how people respond. If they don't turn around and want to buy your product right away, keep going. Keep figuring out what's that pitch, what's that conversation, and then that can translate into marketing. Because my view of marketing is it's just a one-to-many sale. So in sales, if you can't go sell one person on it, you don't have their messaging down. Just keep working on that.
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense. Guys, if you're listening, you can't get any better than this. We've shared a lot of that statistics, tangible wisdom that is being given here. Of course, we don't sell silver bullets on the podcast. However, yeah, it's true. There are just so many wisdoms that you can take, from this episode already, which really getting me fired up. I have one more question for him, but before then, is the dots rapid fire. But even before then, is a quick word from our sponsor. And when we come back, it's going to be the dots rapid fire. My guess is that Erik is going to fly over the fire. So let's see how it goes. Stay tuned. Welcome back, guys. Don't get it twisted. It's the Marketing Leadership Podcast. So, as I was saying, it's the dots rapid fire. Sometimes I call it the hot kitchen. Sometimes I call it the court of law for marketing. It's 3 questions. Erik is going to answer all, saying the truth and nothing but the truth. Are you ready, sir?
I think so.
Okay, good. First question. What is your favorite marketing metric? And I don't want to hear sales or revenue.
Purchase cycle. It is. I think that if you know that, you know way more about your market.
Yeah, that makes sense because, you just have all the benchmarks in your head.
And it's the thing that I think most miss. If you understand how to calculate that and how to track it and you remember to, you're going to be better than 95% of marketers.
95%. Interesting. I'll take that. Okay. Second question. How long do you use social media every day?
Every day. Ooh, too much. I realized I was spending too much. I got addicted to Reels now. So from a personal level, like probably an hour, which is way too much. But yeah, for work, not that much. I post every day, but that takes me 5 minutes. So like, it's not that big a deal. So, but yeah, personally, I'm using, probably 1 or 2 hours. I found myself sitting on the couch last week and I was like, I had to get up and pack for a trip. 45 minutes later, I realized I'd just been scrolling for 45 minutes. I'm like, I need to walk that. So definitely on a bit.
Yeah, that makes honestly, we've spoken to a lot of guests. 1 hour is not that bad. We've seen 2, we've seen 4. We speak to revenue leaders here, a few of them that know some marketing. They are literally just online all day, which makes sense.
For me, I have way too many other things to do to be able to spend more than that. But yeah, I'll spend a little too much of my free time.
Yeah, I get that makes sense. Okay, last question. What is your favorite marketing quote?
Favorite marketing quote?
And this could be yours, by the way.
Yeah, if it's mine, I'd say ROAS is bullshit.
Interesting.
It's in the book. Yeah, I guess because people that talk about ROAS generally these days don't have a clue about marketing because ROAS does not take into account purchase cycle. I know I'm being redundant about this, but I can't emphasize enough. And so, if I spend $10,000 a monthly on advertising and let's say it makes 50 grand, and then next month I decide to ramp it up to $100,000 on marketing, you're not going to make 500 grand that month. That's not how marketing works. And so my ROAS is down, and then you hear people say stupid stuff like, well, it takes time. Well, what does that mean? And so like, they just don't actually understand what the hell they're saying. And so when people talk about ROAS, they generally can assume they're not a great marketer. And again, vast majority talk about ROAS.
Yeah. I must admit, I used to be in that camp before. And I will tell you why I stopped thinking that way. That's because when you decide to scale and the averages or what we call standard deviation don't work out, you get fired as a consultant.
Yep.
I'm like, well, yeah, it wasn't my fault. It's just the market, you know. There are things like lifetime value, there are things like
Right.
average order value that are capped, you
Yep.
know. I can only buy so many cars, I can only buy so many
Yep.
laptops in my life.
And I
Yeah.
got in literally a debate this morning with a client about, we're actually getting a great return, but they're like, well, we need to make, 4 times our money in the first purchase. I'm like, it's doable, but that you need to, or you want to. And if you need to, you have
Mhm,
an unsustainable business. You need to figure out your business model and your merchandise, not your
mhm,
marketing. Because if we're
mhm,
getting you a 4x ROAS, I'll use the term, on a
mhm,
stable spend, we're crushing it. Because on a lifetime value, you should be making way more on your LTV. That means we should be making 10, 20, 30 times our money. If you're
mhm.
not, that's a broken business, not a broken marketing funnel. And so it's
Exactly.
important.
Yeah, yeah. Especially on the D2C. But you know, I don't want to use the struggle, the hustle continues with helping clients grow, especially in that space. Okay. Last question before I let you go. You probably guessed it. AI. AI is probably the most common word in 2023. My guess is the most common word in this decade.
Yep.
And you guys have been able to leverage that very well
Yep.
in helping to optimize e-commerce omnichannel go-to markets, whether it's from starting out or even optimization. I have a special question which I've asked a bunch of D2C gurus like yourself. Um, I am just starting out. There is no data to benchmark on. How does AI help my go-to-market analysis or strategy or data processing from that perspective? Like, what are the insights to look at? Do I look macro? Do I, how? I'm sure you've got clients in that situation.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what we built. So I realized basically 9 years ago that AI was going to start replacing what we did at some point in the future. And so we started building it. We were able to launch Hawk AI about 3 months before ChatGPT. So
Wow.
we didn't jump on some bandwagon. It was called Hawk AI long before ChatGPT got popular.
Yeah, I read
'Cause
that.
we knew that that was going to be a thing. And so what we built was we're digesting about 8,000 companies' marketing media and revenue data in real time so that we can see how the market's moving, what's working, what's not, depending on the stage of the company, the
Mm,
industry they're in, and then take
mm,
an individual company, benchmark them against that and see where the opportunities are to expand and where the low-hanging fruit is. That is it in a nutshell.
mhm,
Think of it as going back to the Hawk method, AI working off the Hawk method to go, okay, well, where are the things that it's missing from that perspective and jumping in? And so that's what we built over time. The idea is right now it's providing insight where it's like, here's what's broken, here's how you fix it. We want
mm.
to eventually get to a point, and I don't think it's that far off where it just fixes it for you. Oh, your
Wow.
click rate on these 5 ads are below market. Here are the reasons because of the sentiment of the copy. We're going to change the copy, just hit approve, and we fixed your marketing. And that's what we're trying to get to.
Almost like an auto apply, right? I guess much better, but
Yeah.
yeah, because
And
yeah,
the idea is again, like at some point, some of what we do is going to be replaced by AI. Why don't we build it? Why wait to be
yeah,
disrupted ourselves?
yeah,
Why? Like, can you imagine
yeah,
if taxi companies started Uber?
yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right. That makes a lot of sense. Man, it's been an honor having you. I would be honest. I haven't known you for a very long, for not very long, but since I've been watching you for maybe a few years now, yeah, you've got a lot on your plate, and it's just amazing to see people do that and appear this fresh and good. So that's really really good. If you're listening, maybe you can go on YouTube and see how Eric looks. He looks very healthy and amazing. Anyway,
I have a good trainer on the board of workout.com, WRKO. Right. I've had to keep the fitness side in check too, thankfully.
yeah, oh, that's good.
Not that
That
I'm in
makes sense.
amazing shape, but I'm at least baseline okay.
Which is good enough for
Yeah.
a busy entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur as well.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. So where can people, find you and learn more from you online?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's easy. @Eric Huberman on any social channel. I'm easy to find. And then the company, if you, have a business, you want help, I know they're showing it. It's just hawkmedia.com. Like we'll run a free audit through Hawk AI for anyone that asks. Well, we're here to build an ecosystem. Again, we've been doing this 10 years. It's not like, what are we going to do next month? It's more about building a long-term relationship, long-term thing that we help the ecosystem. That's where we're all about.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, guys, that's all we have for you on this one. But there are more like this from great guests. Of course, I'm saying this with all grace. But with that aside, check out dotslovesmarketing.com to see all the episodes. we are working on ramping up the release because we've just recorded too much and there's still a backlog of guests that I have to reach out to. Anyway, marketing leadership is the key word if you want to go on podcast platforms like Apple, Spotify, and the new giant YouTube. I would like to thank Content Allies, Des Krieg, and of course, my little startup I co-founded, Listen Network, for their support on this and just keeping it going and providing value to everyone. Again, if you're listening, please don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to leave a review. Be honest, just don't give me 1 star. If you have a 1 star in mind, let's talk. Maybe I've offended you, to see how that goes. Till next time, guys, connect the dots.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Leadership Podcast, brought to you by Listen Network. There will be links to resources mentioned in today's show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.